Well, good afternoon. Hi, it's Lizette from Think Different Dementia, and I'm bringing to you episode number 6 of the Baffled Brain. This is the Alzheimer's and Dementia Support Group. It is Saturday, November the 21st, the week before Thanksgiving. And as everybody knows, it has been a tremendously busy, crazy year. I'd like to invite anybody who is watching this on the replay to put hashtag replay in so I can see who's watching it later on. It is Saturday afternoon. It's 12 o'clock. Thank you for joining me. If anybody is on live, just throw me a comment so I can see that people are on here. It has been a very tumultuous week for me. I am exhausted. I actually considered not doing this today because I am so tired and I have so much that I need to do. But I know nobody else can relate to that, right? We're none of us caregivers of other people or have a lot on our plate. So I feel like right now I turned into the squishy stuff inside the sandwich between my kids and my parents and trying to get a whole bunch of things done. So I totally understand where you guys are coming from. It has been a long and slow journey for me, but I'm here and I'm here to answer your questions. I thank you for joining me. I'm going to use just this hour to kind of talk about dementia. I'm mostly here to answer people's questions, so if people aren't going to ask me questions today, it'll be a shorter episode just because I am feeling very overwhelmed, but I am going to try my level best to answer a few questions. Hi Julia, thank you for hopping on live. I'm glad to see somebody's out there. It's always nerve-wracking. I'm getting beyond the nerve-wracking point right now, but do you have any particular questions, Miss Julia, that I can answer this afternoon? I do have 4 or 5 on a piece of paper that I'm going to take a shot at, and I will tag the people in them that actually answered the questions on the post earlier this week. So, like I said, it is Saturday the 21st of November, and it is right before Thanksgiving, and I pray everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. So, the first question I'm going to answer, or try to answer this afternoon, is from a lady by the name of Chloe. Chloe said she's caring for her sister with stage 4 Alzheimer's, which I would presume she is referring to the FAST, or the Functional Assessment Staging Tools, stages of Alzheimer's. And I'm just going to read real quick what that level would be. Stage 4 is early stage, has difficulty with performing complex tasks of daily living or activities, or instrumental activities of daily living, things like paying bills, balancing checkbooks, and so on. So, Chloe, I think that the first thing that I would have loved to have known is, does your sister still live alone? And when you say you're caring for her, does that mean that she is living with you? So stage 4 is typically at the beginning of the Alzheimer's journey. People are able to still do their own self-care. They may be having difficulty with things like higher level things like medication management, like paying their bills, like anticipating consequences. Driving might start to be a problem now. Other activities that are what we call the instrumental activities of daily living, things like pet care and those kind, laundry, those kinds of activities. But for most of the people at that level, they can still take care of themselves. They can still get dressed. They can still go to the bathroom by themselves, or for the most part they can. They may start to be having trouble in picking out the right clothes for the season. They might be forgetting to do some of their self-care. So the best way to help your sister at this phase is to start to pay attention to the things that are higher level, the things that that we take for granted and that we've all done for so long in running our own households or managing our finances or managing our medication. I always challenge people when I'm working with them. I have a lot of family members tell me, a lot of family members of my patients tell me that, well, my mom still does her own medication, but when you test her, she has significant short-term memory deficits. And so my question to people is, if they're having trouble with their memory, how can you be assured that they're taking their medication correctly? Just because somebody has always been able to do it that way doesn't mean that when they're starting to have these problems that they can actually do their medication properly. So in caring for your sisters, what should you watch out for now? I would start with medication management. I would start paying attention if she is doing her own medicine. Is she taking them accurately? Is she needing help setting them up? If she's living alone, is she really still safe to live alone? Is she scanning her environment to go locate things that are out of sight? Some easy tells that people are starting to have trouble finding things in their environment is nothing's put away. Like you walk into the house and everything they own is out on the countertop because they cannot find it if they put it away. So they leave everything out. If they are starting to have difficulty with finding their way around the house, or if they've stopped initiating doing things, that means they may not be taking their showers anymore. There are lots of signs and symptoms of what to look for next. People between a level 4 and a 5 start to need 24-hour supervision. If they cannot scan their environment, to open a fridge, to find something to eat for themselves, they need help with meals. They need help with somebody coming in, actually making sure that they have their meals, that they're eating in their meals. So just in a nutshell, without having a little bit more information, it makes it very difficult, to answer those kind of questions. More specifically than that. But if you need to, or if you have other questions, please reach out to me. You can find me here on Facebook under my name, Lizette Klute. I put the thing OT on there just so people could find me, or Think Different Dementia at gmail.com. You can email me at that, and you can find me on my private Facebook group at Think Different Dementia Facebook, on Facebook groups. So those are 3 ways that you can get a hold of me. I'm here. I'd love to talk to people. I like to interact. I'll message with you. So if you have follow-up questions, go right ahead. So Julia said her dad gets very anxious at night and doesn't sleep well, but sleeps a lot during the day. Is there a way to get him on a more consistent or a more normal routine sleep schedule? So Julia, can you answer, if you're still on, answer, does your dad live with you? Does he live alone? What is the situation with dad? So a couple things jump out at me when I hear people are sleeping a lot during the day. There could be a lot of reasons for that. Medication is one of them. A lot of medications people take for dementia cause sleepiness. And so I would be, first thing I would do is maybe take a list of medications to his physician, physician's assistant, to the pharmacy, maybe ask questions about some of the medications that he's on, or the medications that he's on causing sleepiness, or some of the medications, okay, so he lives with your mom. Some of the medications that he is on might need to be tweaked. Instead of being taken in the morning, if he really needs them, he might be able to take his medicine at night, and okay. So look at medications, see if there's medication that he is taking that he absolutely needs. First of all, does he need all of the medicine? Second of all, if he needs those medications, are there ones that he's taking in the morning that makes him sleepy, that you could switch and give it to him at night so that it makes him sleepy? Other things that jump out at me is people sleep because they're bored, and they're bored because they've lost the ability to initiate things for themselves. So as you and I, when we're bored, we will get up and go do something. We'll watch a live, we'll go watch a video, we'll go mow the lawn. My neighbor's mowing the lawn where I can see him right now. We will go clean up the kitchen. We'll initiate to do things that need to be done in the house, right? But when we have dementia, one of the first things that we do is we actually lose the ability to initiate things for ourselves. That can be because of the dementia It can be because of depression. There are a lot of reasons why people stop initiating doing activities by themselves. It's not that they're not able to do those tasks anymore. They just have lost the ability to get it started on their own. So a few thoughts or strategies might be to actively wake him up and engage him. Most people, if you're sitting in a recliner and you don't have the ability to initiate anything anymore, you'll fall asleep. I would too. Most people, if they're staying in bed, they'll fall asleep. Television can be very misleading because it looks like people are watching television and it looks like they're engaged in the television, but it's passive. It's kind of just running over their head. So you might want to try to engage him in activities that he might still be interested in, or things that are routine and familiar that he can help with. Every activity we do in our lives will allow us to participate in. Just because it wasn't something that he did all the time, if he helped mom in the house with the dishes, just because he has dementia doesn't mean that you couldn't put all the knives and forks above the drawer and say, hey, Dad, sort them out, even if it's for 5 minutes, right, or 6 minutes or 10 minutes. Or, hey, Dad, let's go for a walk around the house. Let's go look at the plants outside. There are lots of little activities that you can intersperse throughout the day to try to get somebody more active in their environment. So I would start with that. I would also think about looking at a light box for throughout the day, our normal circadian rhythm, and also look at the environment. Is the house dark? If the house is dark throughout the day, people tend to sleep. When we wake up everybody, when we wake up in the morning, we need the sunlight to hit our eyes to reset our brain to say, oh, this is daytime, right? So if our houses are dark, I have all my windows and blinds open the moment the sun comes up in the morning. If our houses are dark, we don't wake up as well anymore in the morning, right? And so our body needs the sun in order for it to produce its own melatonin. So a light box can help throughout the day. Put it where he is sitting, and then about an hour and a half to 2 hours before you want them to go to sleep, you switch the light box off. But I would try to intersperse active activities, but understand that he may not be able to initiate those activities anymore, and it may be up to your mom or you, if you're there throughout the day, to actually engage him in activities. Anything like board games, card games, there are lots of things that you can do to bring people back and make, have them engage in their environment. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see. And then don't let them sleep in the morning. Get them up at a consistent time every day. Have a consistent evening routine. Start to wind down about an hour to an hour and a half before sleep time. Try to get them to exercise, even if it's limited exercise. Walking around the block with mom, with you. Anything that is structured routine, but activity that he can do. So if you have other questions about that, Julia, just shoot me a message. I'd be, specifically if there's details that I'm not aware of, then go ahead and message me and I'll answer you that way. So Anne said her dad had to go to a nursing home as his mobility is gone and he needs 24-hour care. He has other complication and dad's swallow is bad. He's been in the hospital since last Thursday. It's hard to let him go. I'm so sorry, Anne. So let me ask a question if you're still on there. Have you reached out to hospice? Is he on hospice even though he's in the nursing home? Hospice has a lot of things that they can offer people. They're not just there for the person who is going through this process, but they're also there for the family. It is very hard to let them go. I understand that, and my heart bleeds for you. It absolutely does. I have not had to say goodbye to one of my parents yet, but I was very close with my grandmother. But remember, we all are going to die unless the Lord comes back. Everyone is going to die. So Love on your dad as much as you can. If the hospital's allowing you to go in and go see him, spend as much time with him as possible, take videos. Even of the hard times, take videos. You might not be able to watch them immediately afterwards, but you'll not be sorry that you have them later on. The last time I saw my grandmother was in 2015 in South Africa. She was 94. She had dementia. She lived in a nursing home / assisted living / memory care unit, and she obviously still remembered me. And after that, it was about a year until she passed away. So I wasn't able to see her more than that one last time because we live here in the States. Ask the nursing home and reach out to the nursing home and ask about hospice services. Hospice is there for you as well. Talk to the hospital, since he's in the hospital right now, if he's appropriate for hospice. The social workers and the nurses and the therapists, even though, okay, but reach out and ask, still ask, be squeaky wheel. I know it's hard with COVID, and I don't know where in the country you are, but like our hospital will allow people who are at end stage to stay with their loved one. But perhaps, I would ask about hospice. Hi, Moira. And Eunice, I would ask about hospice. I would call the nurses and say you want to speak to the social worker. I would ask if he's at end stage. I would ask if they are allowing visitors for people who are at the end of their life. I would ask if he's appropriate for hospice. Hospice in the nursing home. Will they allow people into the nursing home if he's on hospice in the nursing home? Or if he is at a point where he is really at the end stage, does he qualify to go to a what they call a inpatient hospice, which is not in the nursing home, right? And then ask, oh, you're in Ireland. I have no idea, baby. I am so sorry. That is way outside my resources, but ask the nurses. But there should be like what we in the States call inpatient hospice services, where people actually go to a facility where it's just hospice, and if it's for end of life, and then they let people into the nursing home. So start with those questions. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. I cannot tell you, I know COVID is hard, but we have to be there, and we have to keep pushing back, because with the right PPE, there should be very limited reasons why you shouldn't be able to see your parents. So keep asking, keep pushing back. So that is what I would do. I hope that helps you. Definitely ask about hospice. I know they have hospice in Ireland. Eunice, when do you start to change the cutlery if they complain it's heavy? That's a great question. Yeah, I would try letter forks. It doesn't hurt to change the cutlery. Can't harm. I would try maybe to look and see if you can use some plastic things like plastic knives and forks and so on. Try to find some lighter cups and spoons and so on. Eunice, is Mom home, or is she still in the hospital? I know we messaged about that last night, but I thought she was maybe still in the hospital. And then, hi Moira, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. I've missed you. I've been worried about you. So somebody else asked a question on here. Moira, if you have questions. Yeah, Moira's in the UK, so she might be able to help you. And then Eunice, if you have questions, reach out and ask. And so there was another question from Joan. Joan said, and I'm sure nobody can relate to this. Joan said, can you tell me what to do when I become so impatient that I get headaches and dizzy and so upset? So Joan, I'm not sure if you're on here, but I will answer this to the best of my abilities. First few things that jump out at me is it sounds to me like you need to get some respite care in there. If we get so impatient with our loved one because of their dementia or their behavior or whatever is going on, It may be because you don't have enough rest yourself. If you are doing this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you have nobody coming in to help you, you need to find some help for yourself so that you can recharge. Remember, what I call the hierarchy of needs for people with dementia is not the person with dementia first, it is the household. The household has to function. Food, shelter, clothing. Household has to function, right? Pay the bills, get the food on the table, make the meals, whatever that looks like. That doesn't mean you doing it. It means a system in place necessarily to do that. Meals on Wheels, family bringing in meals, family helping clean the house. People are willing to help other people. But if you don't ask specific things and say, to so-and-so, and Eunice, I'm going to use you as an example. We are friends, we live close by, not on the other side of the world from one another, but hey, Eunice is in my world. She has offered to help me, but I've never actually reached out to her to say, hey, Eunice, can you help me make 2 meals a week for me so that I can get a little bit of a break? Eunice will probably likely say, hey, sure, of course, that's not too much, or reach out to church. So the first thing that I would say is we need to look at what kind of systems you have in place, Joan, so that you can try to get some rest and some respite. If you're involved in a church, people of churches are very willing to help, but they don't know how to help. So when people say, when you say you need help, specifically ask for specific people to do with specific tasks. So that's the first thing, so we can get you some respite. The second thing is try when it's a situation like that, try to back away. Try to get away from it, even, keep your loved ones safe, but just back away from the situation and breathe. Take a deep breath. The fact that you're getting dizzy and getting headaches because you're upset tells me probably, in all honesty, your blood pressure's going up. So have you had a good checkup? Have you taken care of yourself? Have you had your medical checkups done recently? Have yourself checked up? And then we really need to dig into, what kind of help you can get in the house. So I hope that answers your question. I want you to breathe. Ask yourself, a lot of times, ask yourself, so what? Are you getting upset about something because it is the way it has always been and you want it to look exactly that way? Is it one of those things that you can let go and say, so what? So what if my mom or my dad or my husband has not had a shower in 3 days? If we can do a sponge bath and get them clean, so what? Is it that important, right? So what about the fact that they're staying in their pajamas because it's so hard for me to get them dressed? Does it really make that big a difference? Or that we're only changing clothes every other day? Ask yourself, give yourself permission to keep them clean, keep them dry, keep them safe, but say, so what of some of the other things? So I hope that's helpful. Let me know in the comments if anybody has any other questions. I am here to answer these questions. Moira, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad to see you on here again. I really have missed you. I was getting ready to throw out the hey Moira, are you okay question to you earlier this week, but I have had such a busy week. My cognition is not working so well today. So then there was a question from Cindy. Cindy said, if they're starting to lose control and getting very aggravated and demanding to go home, what should we do? She says, I've tried distraction and sometimes that helps and sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, that's a tough one, because without knowing where people are in their journey with dementia, and like Moira said, dementia affects different people in different ways, it's very hard to tell you exactly specifically what to do. But in general, the first question I would ask is kind of start a behavior diary, Cindy. And behavior diaries is very good for everybody, because most of the time people with dementia, any kind of dementia, if they're getting wound up there's always a before, a during, and an after. So a BDA, a before, a during, and an after. Or an antecedent, a behavior, and the behavior is getting aggravated and demanding to go home. And then the consequence or the after. If they're starting to get wound up, and you've got to be the dementia detective. You've got to write down what happened before. Were there certain caregivers involved? Was it a certain time of day? What were the situations going on beforehand? And the more you document over time, start to look for the trigger. There's something triggering the person. Their behavior is a way of trying to communicate with you that something's not right. When they're saying oftentimes that they want to go home, and say it's the house they've lived in for 50 years, and you're thinking, but dad, loved one, mom, you're home. You've lived here for 50 years. In their brain, they may have gone back to a time when they were not married yet, living in a different place. They might be living in their mind with their mom and dad, and the home that they have lived in for 50 years is now not the home they think that they should be in. Frequently, what they're feeling is go back to their feelings. They may be feeling insecure. They may be feeling unsafe. They may be feeling lost. Try to ask questions and see, ask questions about the situation without, and if it winds them up even further, just back off. We don't want to wind them up, but try to figure out what they're feeling. Try to go into their feelings. Feelings retained for a lot longer. Distraction may work sometimes, but try some of these things like a behavior diary. Try to pull into the feelings and say, but you're safe. Try to make them, feel safe. If they're of a person that likes to be held or cuddled, you just have to try different things and see what works. What works one time may not work the next. Try to make when I was a new therapist, I had a little bag of tricks, right? Over the years, I've added into my bag of tricks. I have a lot of bag of tricks, right? So when you're living and learning about people with dementia, you may have a little bag of tricks. Try to put different things into your bag of tricks, and then try different things and see what works. And just because it doesn't work this one time, doesn't mean it may not work the next. Or just because it works right now, doesn't mean it'll work the next time. So sometimes you just have to keep trying different things to see what works, and don't get frustrated because it didn't work the first time, because every person is different. So Miss Moira said, different dementias affect us in certain ways and doesn't affect ways, doesn't it? Lizette, yes. I.e., you have vascular dementia, you get depressed easily, and say if I'm going to see my cardiologist and can't find the letter, I get wound up and crying and saying I'm thick and slow and stupid, then I find it in a pile of letters where always put them. Yes, different dementias affect people differently. With vascular dementia, Moira, because the different parts of the brain are affected differently in each person with vascular dementia, just depending on which structures in the brain are being affected, it can look very different for you, or if it were me, or if it was my mom, just based on where in the brain it is being affected. Routine is your friend. You are not stupid. You are definitely not thick, and you're not slow. Remember that it is not IQ. It has got nothing. Dementia is indiscriminate. It has nothing to do with your intellect or how smart somebody's been. I have seen people with they were born with Down syndrome that have gotten dementia, so they did not have a very high IQ, and I've seen literally the nuclear scientist, the rocket scientist with dementia. So it has nothing to do with your intellect. And remember that if you can have somebody help you stay on track of things, that may help so you don't get frustrated. Try to keep things as routine as you can, but definitely start to include your family, Moira, in your affairs. Make sure that you have a will. Make sure that you have a healthcare power of attorney. Make sure that you have all of these things set up now while you still can. Try to get your sister to join. I think you mentioned a sister that helps you. Try to get her to join Think Different Dementia. Try to get her to reach out to me. Have her ask me questions. I'm willing to hop on a call. You know that I'm here for you. You know that I will help you as much as I can. Hi, Gina. It's great to see you. Gina, do you have any questions this afternoon? It's about 12:30 now. Anybody who's on here on the replay, please put in #replay. Invite people to the Facebook group, Think Different Dementia. Invite people to watch this on YouTube. All of the old episodes of The Baffled Brain, Demystifying Dementia, are on YouTube. I want people, this is for you guys, this is for you. This is your hour. I do this so that you guys can ask me questions. And let's see, Miss Ann, I'm sorry, Moira said, oh, okay. I don't know anything of what you just wrote there, Miss Moira, since I think that is somewhere in Ireland, and I am not even going to try to pronounce that one word on there. So blessings on that. I have one more question here from a Jan. Jan mentioned, and like I said, anybody who asks questions earlier in the week, I try to tag you on this when it goes out later on. I'll tag you in the post so that you know that I've actually answered your questions. So even if you cannot get to the live during Saturdays, you can still go back and watch it. Gina said, yes, her mom has stopped eating everything I give her and she doesn't want it. I'm so sorry, Gina. Do you have hospice involved with you guys? Does mom still live with you? I think that's what I remember. It's hard to keep track of everybody that I message throughout the week, but your mom, is she still at home or is she in a facility? Does she live with you? And if all of those things, does she have hospice? And then if you can answer those in the comments, I will answer Jane's question and then I will get back to yours, okay? So Jane said she has dementia. She doesn't know how to anticipate when she's going to get demanding and panicking, and she says she's scaring people. So Jane, also, you know, without knowing your particular circumstances, where you live, who you live with, who's supporting you, what the circumstances are, it's a little difficult for me to answer this very specifically, but I will answer it in a general sense. Is the same thing that I would say that I said to the people taking care of the person with dementia, is a behavior diary is very helpful. And it could even be helpful for you to write down, take a piece of paper and divide it into 3, write down before, during, and after. So when you start to feel that way, start to write down what happened before. If you cannot do that, ask your family who are close to you or who are around to start to write down what's going on, because what it typically says to me is that you might be like getting overstimulated. There's too much going on. Your brain has not had time to get used to everything going on, and it's freaking you out. And so you want to try to, you know, it could be, are you tired? Are you sick? Are you hungry? Is there something else going on? But without that behavior diary, it is very, very, very difficult to be able to see a trend of what's going on. The reason why you're scaring people is because they don't know how to necessarily handle it when this happens. So if you can be open with your family, if you can have your family really try to learn more about dementia, the stages of dementia, try to have them, you join my group. I don't know if you're in my group, the Think Different Dementia. Have your family members join the group, have them ask questions, and it's very difficult to anticipate. But I would start with the behavior journey. I would start with education. I would start with knowing yourself what stage you're in, and then reach out to your physician and see if there's some medication. I'm very cautious on medication because medication has side effects, but try to see if there, what other strategies we can put in place for you. So that's where I would start. And then if you have a follow-up question, please reach out, Jan. I would be very happy to dialogue with you. You can message me. So Gina says her mom stopped eating. She lives with her, and it's just you and her and no help, and you work when she's asleep. So Gina, have you reached out to hospice yet? Does your mom get up out of bed? The fact that she is not eating really leads me to conclude that we're starting to go into the end stages of her life. And so trying to get as much support in the house for you as possible would be where I would start. I would definitely get hospice involved. I would definitely reach out to your primary care physician, and if hospice is not appropriate, see if you can get some home health involved to help you look at and see what's going on. Is she having trouble swallowing? Why is she having trouble swallowing? Is there something else physically going on? There are a lot of reasons why people stop eating. Is her throat sore? Is the food too hard? Have you tried pureeing the food, making it easier? Have you looked at a speech language pathologist to come in? I would start with those things, because if it was a sudden change, I would think stroke. If it was a gradual change, I would think more her dementia is advancing. But there's so many reasons why people stop eating. And so I would start with those things. I would maybe, reach out to the doctor, try to, get a phone consult, try to find out if she's hospice appropriate, hospice is a significantly underutilized resource for people. Just because somebody is on hospice does not mean that they are necessarily imminently dying right now, today or tomorrow. It just gives you additional help in the house, for sure. It can help if you're in the States, I don't remember, but if you're in the United States, it helps pay for some caregiver assistance in the house. You get some nursing care in the house. You also get some help with supplies. So I would definitely call the doctor. I would start with that. I would look at home health. I would look at home hospice. I would look at, is there something medically going on? I would, for the meantime, over the weekend, maybe try to chop up her food. People stop eating if it's chewing, if they are having trouble chewing. Maybe puree her food over the weekend. See if it's easier that way for her to actually swallow her food. But message me if you have any other questions, Gina. I'm happy to try and problem solve at any time. Moira said she had visits from an occupational therapist twice and a support worker from the memory clinic and her colleague. OT, I thought not very good. I'm so sorry, since I'm an occupational therapist, but we're not all specialized and have a passion for dementia. And it stopped, and the support worker said that's it. Now I'm pretty much with it now, but if that's that waste of time, what about in a year or 2 years, presuming you get more affected? Yes, knowing what your resources are, Moira, is wonderful. You need to have a plan in place, my dear. Most people with dementia at some point or another cannot live by themselves. So what is the plan? Are you gonna, do you have somebody who can come live with you? Can you go live with your family? Making that move sometimes before it's too late is easier, because then while you're still in a point where you can still learn information, you can actually work on getting used to the new routine. So just because you've had those visits now doesn't mean that you won't need them again in the future. But Moira, you need a plan in place, my dear, for where things are potentially going to go for you in the future. Most people, at some point or another living with dementia do have changes, and I would encourage you to have a place or have a plan in place. So those were the questions I had on my sheet, and so far nobody else has had any other questions. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds, a couple minutes or so. I might make it a little shorter today. I am really not feeling my best. I'm very tired and very stressed in my own life, but I didn't want to not do this today because habit is a good thing. I want people to be used to me coming on live every Saturday. But I haven't eaten, and that was a mistake, people. So one of the things that I've been doing, I'll just kind of ramble on for a couple of minutes. One of the things that I've been doing, which is actually where the research actually shows that this makes a significant difference with people with dementia, is diet and exercise. So about a year, almost a year ago now, at the beginning of the year, I totally radically changed my diet and my exercise. I've not been doing so well since September because life got really crazy and busy with exercising. I still try to exercise some, but I've not been as consistent as I need to be. But diet, exercise, sleep, and stress, those four things can make a big difference in people with dementia. And the diet that they significantly, that the research shows significantly impacts dementia and can actually make a major change is is a ketogenic diet, and also doing intermittent fasting. So one of the things I've started doing is I have my dinner, we eat supper usually about between 6 and 7. And then I might have a snack or I might not have a snack again right before we go to bed. We have a very strict sleep hygiene schedule in our house. We start to we unplug the computers, wind off everything at about 9, and then I go read for about a half hour to an hour before bed, and our lights are off before 10 o'clock at night. So I stop eating between 8 and 9 at night. And then I do intermittent fasting until lunch the next day. Well, today I try once a month, once every 6 weeks or so, to have a massage. It's my guilty pleasure. If without it, I find that I don't function as well. And it is not just the feel-good massage. It's like a medical massage. So I had a massage this morning, and then I was working on my work, and then I've got a lot of things I've got to try to get done today, and I had this live, so I didn't eat. And usually I have eaten by now, but I haven't eaten since dinner last night. And so now we're going on 8 plus 4, that would be 12, 16 hours, and I'm rapidly hungry. And so I'm going to go eat something real quick before I have an appointment at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So the diet is the ketogenic with a intermittent fasting diet that really can significantly improve your cognition, but not acutely today for me because I've got all this other stuff going on. So Moira suggested I Puget Key to keep things on you at all times. I have It's bulky and useless. Then she suggested I get Strange Little Thing, which you put colored beads, unsaid keys, purse glasses, etc. Little control panel. I read Lady had that for her mom, who promptly threw it in the bin. I thought it was a toy control panel. Honestly, Moira, I have no idea about the Puget Key thing, but I will be going to look that up because that sounds interesting. The problem with those kinds of things is that unless a person with dementia really values the information and wants to learn it, it really doesn't make any sense. And if you feel like it's bulky and useless, then you're not going to use it. So, that doesn't necessarily mean that occupational therapy wasn't helpful. It just means that particular intervention for you wasn't helpful. She suggested a strange little thing that you put colored buttons on that says keys, purse, and glasses. Well, if you don't know how to find that remote, then that's also going to be useless. So yeah, I know. It is hard, it is frustrating. Really, honestly, the best thing you can do is try to have a very structured routine and keep working on your own thinking processes. There's a website called Lumosity. Let me see if I can write that in. Lumosity.com. And then there's one called, what is it? Brain HQ.com. These are two websites that you can use for brain training games, and so maybe subscribe to those. They're all subscription based, so they're not something that you can just hop on, but it might be worth it for you to actually really train your brain. And this is when we talk about diet, exercise, sleep, and stress. This is part of the exercises, actual cognitive exercises. So I would start with that, and anybody watching, I would go look up those websites. They're actually pretty great. I got my dad doing Lumosity. I was supposed to start Lumosity earlier this year. Yeah, no, haven't had time. But anyway, that's kind of where we're at. It is about 10 till. Anybody have any additional questions? So really think about what I said about diet making a big difference. It can make a tremendous big difference. Our brain is fat, so a low carb, high fat diet, if you're medically able to take that, is a very good thing to do. I would recommend people really research what kind of things can be done to prevent dementia, because there's a lot that can be done, and just because you have something going on doesn't mean that you just have to lay back and say, oh, nothing I can do about it. So like I said, it's about 12 minutes till 1. My name is Lizette. I have a company called Think Different Dementia, because I want people to think different about dementia. All right, so you can reach me on thinkdifferentdementia@gmail.com. You can reach me on this Facebook group, which is the Alzheimer's and Dementia Support Group. I have my own private Facebook group, which is called Think Different Dementia. I have a YouTube channel called Think Different Dementia. This is the Baffled Brain, Demystifying Dementia. And so there are lots of ways you guys can reach me. Please reach out. If you're watching this on replay, please put replay in the comments, and please invite other people and ask questions, guys. That's what it's for. So Moira also said, she suggested you look at sheltered living. A local one friend lives in, has communal showers, and a care manager visits once a week. So Moira, do you guys have access to assisted living? Can you live with a family member? Can a family member live with you? Has the caseworker obviously is going to know more about your resources and the resources in the UK, since I don't know about that. I don't know what your financial resources are. I don't know, what access you have to specific people who can help you. I know without a shadow of a doubt that if you live for 10 or 15 or 20 years, at some point or another, you're likely going to need somebody to help you. What I would encourage you to do is, while you are able to control and manage these decisions, it is easier for you in the long run if you make the decisions for yourself. So if you need to come up with a plan, you need to look at who your natural support system is, who your family are, what your resources are, what your financial resources are, what your communal resources are, what your resources are regarding socialized medicine, etc., what assisted livings. I don't know any of that for the United Kingdom, so I'm not very helpful with that. But if you can sit down and come up with a plan, so that you have a plan in place for yourself, have a healthcare power of attorney, have a power of attorney for financial decisions, all of those things in place, that you have made the decisions, it will make it easier for you. And if you can start to implement those things now, it will make it easier in the long run. You know, all of them in this area, a friend works in them, and she has told me only one for dementia people. Well, can you look at that? Can you look at that particular one? See if you can get on the waiting list, if there's a waiting list. Are there friends that you can live with? It doesn't sound like you have a good family support. You've got to start listing those things out and making up a plan for yourself. That's the best thing I can encourage you to do. You and I are not that much different in age, because I know you and I've spoken. A lot of people our age, as they're looking towards aging, are considering communal living environments for ourselves, like living with friends instead of going to a facility, or their friends, roommates. Can you do something like that with people that know what's going on with you, that are willing to help you? So those are just a couple of things that I would recommend, or that I thought of. It's very hard. I feel for you, Moira. I wish I was able to actually come see you. I apologize sincerely for the occupational therapist. She was trying to do a good job by you. I don't know her background and training, but it is very unique and different for people to find somebody like myself that really just specializes in dementia. We are out there, but most therapists are like physical therapists and occupational therapists and physicians. They are very much jack of all trades and not necessarily masters of any. So for people to actually specialize in dementia is fewer and further between. So Moira also says, don't worry, you've done all the care plans for people in job as advocate, argued with social workers on disabled people's behalf, and completed your own benefits and others' claims, so you know the process. Well, I would get them in. I would start to work on that. So yet again, it is Saturday, November the 21st, 2020. This was episode number 6. It's a little shorter today because I'm a little not at my best ability to function, which reminds me, normal people, mostly normal people like me, mostly normal people have fluctuations in their cognition, right? Being tired, hungry, cold, sick, lots of different reasons why we have fluctuations in our cognition. Our loved ones with dementia have these same fluctuations. So just remember that when you're working with your loved one, a change in their fluctuation, pay attention to that, because it could be a sign of them getting sick. It could be a sign of something else going on. It could be a sign that they're tired. It could be a sign that they're hungry. And just because they're having those changes does not necessarily mean that they're going into the next stage. It just means they may also be having a bad day, right? So yet again, reach out. My name is Lizette. I'm an occupational therapist. I specialize in dementia. I come here once a week on Saturdays, Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time, whichever one we're in, at noon. And I love to answer questions. I put a thing out on Wednesday to ask people to ask me questions. And so thank you for watching. Put in their replay if you're watching on the replay. Get in contact with me. I'm here for you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, guys. Have an awesome Thanksgiving. And I pray you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to talking to you guys again next Saturday. Moira's last comments that got power of attorney process ongoing, funeral plan we'll do soon. Good job, Moira. You are doing a good job. Thank you guys for watching. I will be back next Saturday. I really appreciate the time that you guys spend with me. And Eunice, I'm praying for you, girl. Reach out to me next week when Mom comes home from the hospital. Anybody else have any questions or comments, reach out to me. You can message me. And blessings, and thank you so much for being here.